So a friend of mine has just started taking drum lessons for the first time in his life. Now he's only been taking lessons a few weeks and his drum instructor has already told him he has to start to learn to read music. I think this is a terrible, terrible idea, and I'm going to explain why in this video. What's up guys, Dominic here from Drums on Stage. So yeah, I've got this friend. He decided he wants to learn how to play the drums. So he's found himself a drum teacher. It's not me, it's somebody else. And he's started taking lessons. He's having a lot of fun. But his drum instructor has told him that now he needs to start to learn to read music. And that he's got no choice. He has to do it. It's basically forcing him to read music. I think this is a terrible idea. And there's a few different reasons why. But first of all, I'm not actually saying that reading music in general is a terrible idea. No, just for this specific situation, and you'll find out in a minute why. In fact, I wrote a blog post a while ago called 6 Things You're Wasting Your Time On If You Want to Be a Working Drummer. And in that blog post, I listed reading music as one of them. But again, it's all subjective to different situations. So if you want to check out that blog post, you can do. But yeah, you'll see what I mean. So this friend of mine, he's already in his 30s. He's already got a career. He already has a job. He doesn't want to work as a drummer. It's not something he wants to do for a living. He just wants to play the drums for fun. Like a lot of people, a lot of people ask me, is it too late to start drumming? Well, not if you want to do it for fun. Of course not. In fact, it's never too late. But in general, if you just want to sit down and have some fun playing the drums, you look at a drummer and you say, well, that's cool. I wish I could do that. Then no, it's never too late. You can always play the drums for fun. And this is exactly what this guy wants to do. So he's found himself a drum teacher. He asked me, but I'm too busy. And he started taking drum lessons. Now, he's having a lot of fun with it. But at the same time, his drum teacher is now starting to place these barriers in front of him, which most likely he's not going to be able to overcome. Unknowingly placing these barriers. So he's basically told him, now you have to learn to read music after, 3-4 weeks at the most of lessons. Not that many lessons, probably 1 a week. So, for sure less than 10. And he wants him to read music already. Again, my friend's goal right now is to have fun, yeah? So he just wants to sit down. He's seen drummers and he thinks, wow, that's cool. I wish I could do that. So he wants to sit down at a drum kit. He likes rock songs, so he wants to sit down and he wants to play along to Highway to Hell, for example. And that's all he wants to do. He doesn't want to actually start a band. He doesn't want to go into a recording studio. He doesn't want to make a career out of it. He just wants to sit down and have some fun. Okay, so if we take this into consideration, then, well, what does reading music actually give a drummer or a musician? Well, it gives you the ability to communicate specific, licks, beats, patterns, songs to other musicians. So you can write stuff down, read it, and then you know exactly what you have to play, or other people know what they have to play. So if somebody just wants to sit down at a drum kit, play along to Highway to Hell, not even bother starting a band or playing on stage even. They just want to sit down at home and play along, maybe like with an electric drum kit plugged into some headphones. That's fine. They don't need to read music. So it's completely pointless in placing this barrier in front of this person and saying, right, now for you to continue having fun, which is what you're paying me to teach you to do. Like you're paying a drum instructor to teach you how to do something that you find fun. But if now that drum instructor says, aha, if you want to carry on paying me money to have fun, now you've got to learn to read music, which is something you're not going to enjoy at all, and you're never going to need it because all you want to do is sit down and have some fun. This to me is ludicrous. If you think about it this way, so time is your most precious resource in any area of life, but in music it can be very apparent because as time goes by, you practice, you become better at what you're doing, and then you get really good if you've put in the work. So Wasting that time on doing something that you don't need to do is, well, it's a waste of time. So how do we apply this to us, to drummers that are actually professional drummers that we want to play on stage, and we do already play on stage like myself? Okay, the way you apply this to yourself is, it doesn't mean that you should never learn to read music. Of course not. If you need to learn to read music, if you need to read music or write music, then you need to learn it. Absolutely, 100%. But the way we apply this situation to our situation is, you should never practice stuff that you are not going to need, especially if it's stuff that you find challenging, difficult, or even boring. So you need to figure out your specific needs, and you need to practice exactly what you need to improve your situation. So if you're a person, if you're the kind of drummer that does studio work, you may very well need to read music. You might even need to sight read. In that case, you should definitely practice that, and you should get better at it. If, on the other hand, like me, you play 100% of the time live. That's literally what I do. I play 100% of the time live, at least for the moment. And I don't need to read music. I don't need to know a really long, complicated drum solo. I don't need to know, I don't know, double bass drum blast beats, because I'm not in that kind of band. So there's all these millions of techniques and beats and stuff that you can learn behind the kit that I do not need for my situation right now. Therefore, if I employ my precious time into learning and practicing all these things that I don't need, then that time, in essence, is being wasted. Because I could be employing that time into practicing things that I do need, especially right now, and in general need to be good at. For example, keeping a steady tempo. That is something I actively, consciously practice. I don't sit down at home and practice keeping a steady tempo. But while I'm at work, playing live for 3 hours, I really focus hard on keeping that steady tempo. Doing this night after night has really improved my tempo in a general sense, because I deliberately focus on it. So I'm practicing on stuff that I really need. So you need to take into consideration general needs of what you do. So again, if you're a studio drummer, there's certain general needs. You're going to need to know certain beats and techniques and songs. You're going to need to know how to get a good sound out of your drum kit, because it's going to be recorded. You need to know how to tune your drums, how to be able to hit them in a way that makes the skins resonate the way they should, and not just smash them. You might need to know how to follow a metronome and or lead without one. You might need to know how to read music, once again. So if those are things you need, that's what you need to work on. If you play on stage, then you are definitely going to need a solid and steady tempo. You are going to need the ability to work as a team and to listen and to always know what's going off. You need the ability to be familiar with the stage environment, because the stage environment sounds nothing like your practice room and nothing like a studio as well, and it can be very confusing. You need to be comfortable and familiar with that. Also, you need to know how to recover from a drop stick when you drop one live on stage, because a lot of drummers don't actually have a strategy to recover. They just, drop it and go crazy and pick one up, and yeah, that's fine. But if you play on stage all the time, you kind of need to know how to recover as smoothly as possible from a drop stick. On stage, you also need, and this is really important, you need the ability to create a backbeat. I'm sure you've heard that term before, the backbeat. It's basically, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a beat that sits in the back. It's not overpowering, it's not overbearing, it's not overcomplicated. It's kind of the foundation and the groundwork for the rest of the musicians to lay the actual instruments on top of to create a song. If you're crashing, doing fills, wobbly tempo, basically sounding like a crazy drum solo the whole song, there's no backbeat and it just doesn't sound very good. So this is something that you need for sure if you're playing on stage. So again, there's generalized needs for different situations. And then there's individual needs that you have as a performer. So wherever you are lacking, then that is generally a need. If you're not very good at, let's say, shuffle beats, then you need to work on your shuffles. If you're not good at 16 beats, you need to work on your 16s. If your tempo is not very good, you need to work on that. So these are things that you can go about choosing when you sit down to practice. Problem is, a lot of people, they choose what's fun, right? I'm going to learn the latest, like pataflaffa diddle fliddle biddle, or whatever new thing has just come out. And I'm going to do it as fast as possible at 260 BPM. Or I'm going to learn the latest, double bass drum blast beat that you're never going to use. And it can be fun, it can be challenging, but at the same time, that time that you're employing on practicing, if you're not practicing things you genuinely need, then that time you spend is not actually getting you any closer to that goal of the kind of drummer you want to be. So for my friend's case, he wants to have fun. That is his number one goal. He doesn't want to work as a drummer. He doesn't want to be the best drummer in the world. He just wants to have fun. He doesn't even own a drum kit. He just goes to this teacher's house and plays there. So reading music for him is not only not a priority, but it's a terrible idea. Because if he employs his time in reading music, it's a waste of time that he could be employing doing something that's getting him closer to his goal, which is having fun. And again, it's a barrier. It's a barrier in front of him that he has to overcome. And this could very well lead him to quit drumming altogether, because now it's not fun. Now he's got to pick up this piece of paper and learn these dots, and it's not what he wanted to do. So basically, all I'm trying to say is, when you sit down to practice, think about how you're spending that precious time, because you're never going to get that time back. As you get older, you realize that all the time you spent doing all those things behind the drum kit, not all of them are needed. Now you are actually a professional drummer. Some of them were, some of them weren't. I'm pretty happy to report that most of the stuff I worked on when I was a young drummer, most of it, probably 90%, I use every day at the moment. So in that sense, I didn't waste too much time. But in general, every time you sit down to practice, just think about your needs. Think about your goal as a drummer. What kind of drummer do you want to be? What do you want to achieve in your drumming career? If your practice routine is getting you closer to that goal, then great. But if it's something that you're not going to need and that you actually isn't going to get you any closer to your goal, then I'm afraid it's a waste of time. That's it for today, guys. Don't forget to leave me a comment. Tell me what you think about this situation, about whether you should practice everything there is or you should just focus on what you truly need. And tell me about your practice routine. What do you usually work on? So anyway, till next time, keep it groovy. This was Dominic. See you later, guys.